What's the girl equivalent of getting distracted by a woman's boobs? Hands. I don't know what it is about them, but hands, hands, hands. I dated a girl in college for about a year, and she was obsessed with my hands. I never understood it, and she had trouble explaining her attraction to my hands. She was an art major with a lot of artsy friends, and one day she even had me pin her down by her wrists and had her photography friends take these incredible pictures of my hands holding her down, caressing her hips, rubbing her calves, and some other stuff. I talked to her about a year ago, and she still has one of the photos hung on her wall and framed with a really cool background. Girls are weird, man. The goddamn forearm. I almost got hurt at work once because I got distracted by bulging forearms. I got picked up by a woman who sat down next to me, and when I did my usual introduction and asked what she likes to do for fun, she just stared at my forearm, ran her fingertip up it, and said, "I like this." In all the years I blew dating women, there were a few truly memorable moments, and that was certainly one of them. Every time I've mentioned that, I've gotten confirmation that my meat hooks are quite stylish. I guess that's something to put on my gravestone. Men, if you take anything away from this, let it be the button-up shirt with the sleeves rolled up. There is legit nothing hotter. I went to a Catholic school where the boys had to wear an Oxford shirt and a tie, and even though I wasn't attracted to any of those boys until my senior year, they all looked good with those sleeves rolled up. Now they wear polo shirts, no tie, and I kind of feel sorry for the girls to not have the visual. The guys get their visual, the skirts are above the knee now by a couple of inches, but the girls get nothing. You may fascinate a woman with a piece of cheese. No kidding, I always thought it was kind of weird how impressed women have been with my taste in cheese. I once spent a bunch of time looking through all of a grocery store's cheeses for the wedge that had the most tyrosine crystals so I could bring it on a picnic with my ex. It's been years, and I still remember how amazed she was by those crunchy bits of cheesy euphoria. I thought it might have just been my ex being weird, but I've tried it again since, and nope, girls just love crunchy cheese. I'm a straight woman, but it's not a man's body that would distract me like this. Sometimes a man just smells so good that it makes me a little lightheaded. The smell is usually a glorious combination of subtle aftershave and their own unique body musk. I think that's about the closest equivalent to me as a woman getting distracted by a random man I don't know. I have been known to tell a man that he smells good, or I like his tie, or that shirt is a great color on them. I love how most seem taken aback and almost blush. I have never had a man respond in anything but a good way. I'm old, so it's not like I'm flirting, though maybe they'd prefer hearing it from some young hot woman. I just like to find things I can truly compliment on people, and it's never contrived. With men especially, you never know when they last heard it. Voice can be very distracting. If they have a deep voice, I'm gone to a different land. I loved Peter Steele of Typo Negative. In person, his voice was so deep it tickled. You felt it more than heard it. The dude was so big. I'm pretty tall, but barely came mid-chest on him. I felt like a little kid. Voice can be very distracting. If they have a deep voice, I'm gone to a different land. I loved Peter Steele of Typo Negative. His eyes were such a solid color of green they didn't look real. And yes, he had really big fangs. It was such a mesmerizing experience. Jason Momoa has pretty deep voice in person too. He's inexplicably even higher in person. The main thing with him is that he's like a big puppy. He's incredibly sweet, incredibly exuberant, and incredibly solid. I've met some really powerful dudes. I live in an area with a lot of pro wrestlers and taken pictures with one or two. Jason was different. He was right on the tail end of filming Aquaman and was in peak shape. It felt like getting hugged by a literal tree. He was incredibly humble and super friendly. His voice was so frigging hot that I actually spaced out for a second and had to ask him to repeat himself. Phew! Other honorable mentions are Clancy Brown and my favorite vocalist Billy B. God, that guy's voice is fantastic. Total eargasm? The Wellerman. Muscular forearms sticking out of rolled sleeves of a long-sleeved shirt. Last summer, my boyfriend was getting dressed for a date and he couldn't find a short-sleeve dress shirt. The man lives in black t-shirts. So he grabs his lone long-sleeve button down and said, "I guess I'll just have to wear this and roll the sleeves up." He has no idea how much that made my whole night. He was going on a date with me, y'all. Some guys recognize the importance of keeping a relationship going. We put on nice clothes and go on a date at least once a month. It's too easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget to devote time to maintaining your relationship. Then you end up unhappy. We don't want that, so we go out on dates together. Getting distracted by your own boobs. I lost about 60 kilograms over the last 2 years. Feels like about 55 kilograms of that came off of my boobs because those poor bastards looked like deflated balloons that had melted in a fire. Very, very sad looking titties. Then I had a baby and the boobs filled up with milk. Holy Jesus Lord, have the boobs made a comeback. I keep catching a glimpse of them and having to do a double take. Are these really my boobs? Wowzers, they're even bigger than they were before, and genuinely impressive, and sore and swollen and drippy, and have a small human hanging off the end of them. Whatever, win some, lose some. Man's shoulders, chest, eyes, arms, hands, legs, butt, waist, fashion, voice, laugh, dance, smile. I can't count the times I've noticed something attractive about a man and missed whole sections of a conversation trying to focus on acting normal. Was taking a very handsome man's order one day and got distracted by how handsome he was. Had to ask again what he wanted. His dad just nudged him and winked, giggling about it. He knew. The guy blushed like crazy. I was blushing from awkwardness. I wanted to crawl in a hole and die every time they ordered something cause his dad would try to find a way to keep me in the conversation with his son a little longer. Noted, I need to wear aftershave with a slight bit of personal body musk, gray sweatpants, and a button-down shirt with sleeves rolled up, and maybe a chef's apron to show I can cook, and a funny slogan on it to show I have a sense of humor. Noted. Also, be muscular, forearms with veins, sensitive, small pet and cooking abilities, and intelligent, able to notice her hair and clothes, and remember issues she has told you about. Bonus points for an aesthetically pleasing cock. Other people's standards will you up though, so better to be yourself, for better or worse, and see what happens. Cardinal rule, don't be in hole. If they have big hands, and not like popping with veins or anything, but a lot of definition. I'm a guy and been told I had nice hands a lot. They are pretty big and actually longer than most my friends who are a bit taller than me when I'm 6'0". Used to be embarrassed about them because they look more like my mom's than my dad's, but after getting complimented so much it doesn't bother me, and they actually still look decently manly too. Actually, I don't do anything besides cut my nails and file them a little, and to be honest, my nails and fingers will look nicer than 99% of girls I see. I guess the skin is pretty healthy too and not dry or cracked. Anyway, if anyone wants to see them, just message me. I've been single so long and would be happy if people appreciated something of me. So I was at a show and was trying to nonchalantly adjust my belt because it was too loose. I didn't think anyone could see, but I turned to find this girl, jaw open, staring at my waist. I freaked like, oh, my zipper's down or something, and I kind of turned away. A second later she walks up and said, "That was hot, you're hot," and then walked away. I was so shocked I just stood there like a dumb. I spent the rest of the show half looking for her but never found her. Tleater, I don't know, but maybe adjusting your pants belt? Are you toned enough that you have the V-lines? I'm not sure what they're actually called, because that's the only time it's ever happened to me, when I was younger and in shape. A co-worker that I was friends with was chatting to me about something, and I reached up to grab something above me, and my shirt pulled up a bit, and she just kind of trailed off, and when I looked at her she had a bit of a dazed look and then blushed. And then she was just like, "Dude, I didn't know you had those V-lines, that's so in hot," and went back to work while I stood there stunned. When I started dating my wife, she also really liked it. All of it, you beast. Forearms, biceps, broad shoulders and chests, thick thighs, tall, full lips, toned calves, butt, stomach, hands, hair, eyes, voice, smile, smell. I can find something attractive to distract me about almost anyone. Former male stripper here. I can confirm that the happiest women I've seen are the ones who find something different to love about each man. On one guy, it's hair. On another, back muscles. On a third, hands. The more you find something positive, the happier you'll be in your relationships with the opposite. I don't know, it depends on the bloke you fancy. I guess for me as a straight girl, it's a man's arms or chest. I'll try and use an example. So a few months ago over Christmas, I rewatched a TV show called Trailer Park Boys. I was watching season 5 and the character Julian's arms were twice the size they were in season 4. He'd been in prison lifting weights. I was literally so distracted at times I almost couldn't keep up with the dialogue, plot of what was happening. He wears tight black shirts as well, so like it's prettying hot. His arms, pecs, and chest get bigger throughout the show. By season 11, I think, when his mates find out he's been living in a shipping container. Long story, if you ain't seen the show Lamau, he looks like a Viking god who could break a railway sleeper in half. Lol. I remember actually feeling semi-gutted watching the later seasons that his shirts weren't as tight as the previous seasons cause I couldn't see his massive chest or man boobs. Lol. Also, his arms are so tanned and they've got just the right amount of hair on them. They remind me of my boyfriend's arms. Minus the muscles, but like, yeah, it all depends on the man a woman's thirsting over. To be honest, it can be their arms, chest, pecs, eyes, smile, and their lips, eyelashes. I don't know, their six-pack for some women, their hips that have those V-lines, their backs, arse, or their thighs. It varies from woman to woman. Either another woman's boobs or just seeing a man do something kind. I'm a teen, so nice boys aren't something I experience often. I want a man that reads Lamau. I am aware that nice guys exist, and trust me, I'm not one to let a man or woman treat me like a machine. It would be a long time before ever came into the picture if I was dating a man. That's why I said seeing, not someone being kind to me. You learn an awful lot about someone by just watching them out and about. That sounded stalker-ish, oops. And by reading, I mean fantasy books, not nonfiction or self-help books. Shoulders and arms. In my experience, I have had multiple female co-workers lay hands on my shoulders and arms in the past. And when I was an undergrad, I had a middle-aged female boss who would be absolutely paralyzed and just stare if I was wearing a t-shirt and lifted an arm in a way that revealed any armpit hair. So, apparently that too. No, I wasn't offended by any of it, but I learned to not raise my arms in front of my college boss, mostly because I think we were both embarrassed. I honestly have no idea. This happened to me recently. I have a pretty low libido, but the other day a customer came in. His personality annoyed the out of me. He wasn't especially conventionally attractive. Super skinny, handsome, but also weird face. He didn't remind me of anyone in my past, but something about him made me want to jump him. Later, his wife and 4 boys came in, and I just figured the wife was afflicted with the same sort of crazy I had. Depends really. For me, it's a man with those massive in pecs, straight up fat rack, big ol' thighs, a pair of Henry Cavills to crush my skull like a watermelon, and a nice set of cheeks, full on peachy moon. And you know, I'll stare at exposed muscular parts, and I have really big thing for the whole like Jesus look, even in really simplified terms. I don't know if this is just a weird habit I've accidentally developed, but I tend to glance at a guy's crotch, even if I'm not interested in him, and I never have a reason to do it. It just happens, you know? Gazing into the face of a handsome man while he speaks intelligently sends me into the stratosphere. I am fortunate to be in this position whenever I am with my beloved. I love everything about him, his face, his hair, his voice, his personality, the things he says, the way he dresses. He likes going on long walks and tells me the history of buildings and neighborhoods, so our walks are always education as well as healthy for our 50-something bodies. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I am also distracted when I look at his crotch. I try to be discreet about it, but I tend to tell him I was gazing at his crotch, and his sweet smile and low-key snicker is so why. Is no one gonna say eyebrows? Eyebrows are essential to framing the face. If a man has well-defined, bushy brows, they hood the eyes in a way that draws attention to them and his cheekbones. And then the rest of his face is just shadows and sharp edges and just a beautiful art reference. I'd start with his face shape and then go right for the eyebrows. And as I finish writing this, I realize I'm just talking about drawable features. Now I want to say hands, but it's literally for the same reason. Do I not know how to appreciate the male form? Oops. As a woman who is addicted to working out, it's rather easy to see if a guy is fit even when he's fully dressed. Spotting someone in a crowd who has that good posture, calm, determined aura of a fellow fitness addict. Sorry, I'm aware this is cringy AF, but the gym is how I deal with my issues is magical. Like seeing a unicorn. It's a time stopper and can make me forget what I was talking about. My ex, whom I would consider out of my league and was obviously slumming it with me for the years we were together. I asked her what attracted her to me, as I didn't fit the type of guy she usually dated. She told me it was my smell. I thought she was bolting me but didn't press the question. But after that one night, I was hanging out with a girl I went to school with I hadn't seen in a while, and she said the same thing to me. I guess women can detect something men can't, or at least we can't smell it from ourselves. I think it's something primal, something that denotes a level of compatibility on a genetic level where we would never consciously be expected to detect a perfect match. They say the reverse is true, and that's why even in animals the females reject their siblings. Under ideal circumstances, you'd want your mate's genetics to be as different as possible, so long as those differences were presenting with them having an advantage in their environment, as in being successful at life. For me, it's a man's shoulders to butt ratio from behind. I love looking at my man from behind. My hubby has those big broad shoulders and that slim waist and that tight slim muscular. Now that is what has always been my turn on in a man. He went to college on a quarterback scholarship, and he has continued to work out and has been athletic his entire life. He is now 73, and yes, he is still very and athletic built. No one can believe he is in his 70s. He has always dressed young, and I shop for him a lot too. He has a great body to shop for and always looks great in anything. Whether it's linen pants and loose silk shirts, or more fitted slimmer jeans and polo shirts, or evenings with a mock turtleneck and a sports coat. Oh my gosh, I'm getting aroused. Yes, you young folks. We both have constantly worked out all these years, and we keep hitting that gym. My hubby and I still find each other very and so attractive after all these years. Oh honey, can you meet me on bedroom, please? My last relationship boyfriend was a former hockey player. He wasn't playing while we were dating, and at the time we were both in our early 30s, but he still had an incredible physique for someone who didn't work out anymore. My favorites were his legs and his arms, shoulders and back. We used to work together, and so sometimes I would be staring at him from across the floor and be thinking to myself, God damn. I'm trans woman that's always been attracted to men. I lived my life as a gay man for a while, and I'll tell you it's lips, teeth, eyes, nose, facial hair, arms, veiny hands, shoulders, voice, and what they wear and how they smell is the cherry on top. I see other women saying they play with their boobs or hold them and get distracted by other women's boobs. That's so validating. I literally will play and squeeze with my boobs, and it's not even Yule. I low-key thought I was weird. Also, I check out women all the time. I have huge hands. I used to work on construction, so I would grip with a death grip 3 sheets of plywood that you use for roofing, and with that go up the ladder when you can grip and hold on to 3 sheets of plywood. For long periods of time every day, those muscles kind of tend to start bulging and your hands develop into these monster hands. I have since started working on cars, and I hate my big hands because I can't get them into tiny spaces to get a bolt loose. I get distracted by men's chest hair cleavage and will stare and imagine what is underneath, assuming I'm already attracted in some form. I'm bi, but women's tits are pretty in your face for both genders, I imagine. I don't think I'm on the same level as men for desiring tits. I guess I'm in person. I tend to notice hair, clothing, and types that go with that and fall for women well before I care about their cup size. Women aren't as visually stimulated as men, but good grooming and dressing well will always be points in my book. Smelling good is appreciated, but in general what really gets us going is heart-stopping romantic moves like straight out of a smutty book. The wide doorway, lean the hand on hip, waist, and pull her in eye contact, tilting her chin up to have her look at you, running your hand into her hair and using it to pull her in for a kiss, or hand on the back of her neck for the same thing. Gently using your body to trap her against a wall and kiss her. Stuff like that is pantry dropping good. In close proximity, a man with well-articulated hands that articulate well. At a distance, tall or short, a flat belt line above slender hips and proportionately long, slightly bowed legs with a lanky walk that says he knows it looks good. Like Prince Harry on Stephen Colbert. Recently. Not a royal watcher until Prince Harry grew up and left the clan, haha. And then there are the glasses, and the rolled-up sleeves and wit. Don't forget wit. Combine a couple of the above, and you can lose your place and get embarrassed if you are caught. And you remember it forever. I would never say I have a big D. It's slightly above average for my country, but I was at least well endowed early for a 15-year-old, and once without thinking about it, I was leaning against a window in the school corridor, legs spread a bit wide. I was bored, waiting for the next class, and I had tight jeans on. A girl that was on again off again interested in me walked up to me and had trouble keeping her eyes on my face. Fluorescent bulbs cast a bit of a shadow down there. I got a kick out of it afterwards when I put two and two together what had happened. Still, I dodged a bullet. She had ways of verbally acting out that would have made for a really messy time together. This probably sounds weird, but I get distracted by my boss's hands all the time. He is a teddy bear and I love him dearly, platonically, of course, but he has gorgeous hands. I don't even know where or how to start. The simple shape of them, the delicately tanned skin, he works outdoors a lot, and the veins that flex when he simply moves them. Oh goodness! I immediately get flustered when my gaze shifts to his hands. I know he's seen me staring a time or two as well. What can I say? Dude has hot hands. As a mom, I wouldn't know, but I do understand that on the whole, women aren't as visually attracted as a knee-jerk response as men. For men, I would presume, because we have this knee-jerk reaction, attention span as a biological response. If we are going in that direction, I don't think the biological response for women is necessarily focused on their potential partner. This comes from my experiences with how difficult it is for most men to detach from a partner after a divorce and how easy it seems to be for many women to do so. Often by time a woman is after a divorce, she has long since decided it was time to leave. Yes, it's still messy, but what's done is done. What does this mean towards the question asked? Honestly, I don't think there's anything a woman will focus on physically in her partner that will distract her. In general, from my experience, the number one focus for women with children is their children. Women without children, I have no clue, presumably looking for a man who fills whatever needs, desires that she's willing to put out there as wanting to be filled. If a man is able to fulfill these requirements, needs, desires for a childless woman, and provider, needs, desires for a woman with children, then it doesn't really matter who the man is, as long as he can fulfill his role. This really comes off colder than I think it is. Yes, mother have desires and needs still, but I don't think it's unreasonable that those needs and desires for most women take a back seat to their children. And for men, having children isn't necessarily this great difference maker. For most men, it's not that we don't care about our children, it's just that we encompass everyone, children, partner, all of them, as elevated people we must be responsible for. Family as a single unit, versus women who see there is a difference between children and partner. How does this come back to men and women? Men being visual are knee-jerk reacting to visual stimuli. Women being more emotionally and securely attached have to find that connection. All of this is general, nor applies to all men and women or every case. Shouldn't have to state that, but better safe than sorry.